Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I haven't done the gavel. I like that. I could whistle. All right, thanks for attending this afternoon. Call the meeting to order, please. I'll run through, like I have in the past, team names of who's on the committee, and we can identify who's not here. Starting with Mr. J.P. Gallagher. There's myself. Andy Durkin is here. Paul Babb. Tammy Burke. Karen Burns. Chris Kellogg is not here today. Mackenzie is here. Julia Crane is here. Jim Cambridge here. Jim Keenan. Kayla Lappin. Is Johnny, there you are, Johnny McLean. Bob Morris. Stephanie Serini told me she might make it. She's in Anaconda, so she's not here yet. Kelly Sullivan was out most of the day today. I didn't see her, so I don't know if she's out today. Hattie Thatcher. She may be here later. Todd Trigidja. Todd's not here. And Sarah Bourdain. For some reason, you're always last on my list. Sorry. Save the best for last, Sarah. For starters, last week's minutes, I made some comments. Mackenzie had them. I wanted to clarify my comments. Excuse me. We were talking about traffic last week, and I had mentioned that during construction that they built a construction road in order to supply, so people can get to the work site. And while they're doing the construction road, they were working on the main road and putting in the utilities like the water line, et cetera, along the easement. The construction road is west of RP, Rodea, Stauffer, whatever you want to call it. I refer to it as RP. And that road is still not paved. And it goes from up German Gulch Road up to basically REC. And then the pavement ends right about the corner where you turn into the REC parking lot. From the REC parking lot down along the east side of RP is paved, and that's where the primary traffic activity occurs. So I just want to clarify that because I think it was miswritten in the minutes. So any other comments, questions on the minutes from last week? Take a motion to accept the minutes with Mackenzie added my comments and clarification on the road. Thank you. By Tammy. Second? By Mr. Cambridge. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. On the agenda tonight was we were going to have a presentation by Mr. John Kasparek regarding the short power data center estimated impact presentation. And John had presented last week, I believe at BBER, but John's unable to attend tonight for whatever reason. And so we have a copy of that report from John that we'll just email. I'll have Mackenzie email it out to the team tomorrow, and you guys can take a look at it, see what it says. Maybe we can discuss it. We'll have to talk about our process for next week, because the idea is to go through the slides that we have so far tonight, and then whatever is left, there may be some gaps still to fill, and find out whether we decide as a team to finalize these slides again at a meeting like this next Tuesday or not. We'll figure out by the end of the meeting. Does that sound fair? So the slide deck, I don't know how everybody has a copy of the slide deck. Were we going to present it have it shown at this time or not? Do we have it? I don't know if we. But essentially, the slide deck. I was talking to Mr. Gallagher earlier tonight about the process for how this would work, and we're on the agenda for next Wednesday's council meeting. And the intent is that we would present the slides that we have at that meeting. So likely I will probably lead the presentation process and pull in my experts on power. That'd be Mr. Morris, and taxes, Mr. Durkin, most likely, if you're able to be here next Wednesday, either you or Todd. Well, Todd's mom's birthday is tonight. That's why he's not here. You're available for water if I need it. I think we can. Power and taxes just aren't my bailiwick. I'm not afraid to say it. So far, and I briefly looked at the slides earlier today with Kayla, and the idea, we've gone through this over the past several weeks regarding all the topics that we have to address. So, the big ones, of course, power, water, taxes, and labor, and we have the environmental impacts, noise, traffic, lighting, etc. We have information from the schools, and then at the end we'll come up with a conclusion on everything we've done. We even have a spot in here. If people are providing us questions that we get throughout this process, whether the questions are online or here at these meetings, we'll address the questions that we can. Does that sound fair? Were we going to show the slides, or oh, okay. So we'll just start going through the slides. Again, they're a draft format, open for comments and questions. Mark them up, make the comments that we need. The order of which so far is how it's set up, and I think we had talked about making sure that the titles match with what's on the outline. So we have a mission statement, we have a list of our members, we have a list of definitions, personal interactions with data, we have the park, taxes, power, water, jobs, environmental impact, community comments, questions, and conclusions, and a reference to the websites that are available. The mission statement hasn't changed, so if nobody has any comments, I'll just go right past it. The committee members, if you want to change any of those, Mr. Gallagher, I would expect you can mark it and provide a comment to Mackenzie, please. So the fifth slide is definitions of what is data. So data is digital information that is created, stored, processed, transmitted by computers. Do we want to say by computers? Do you want to say by electronic devices? Do you want to, because it's also by phones? So just make a comment that it's by all sorts of things, right?
What's the right word?
Yeah, right. So, and that's kind of where I am, and I want to make sure that what's in here, it's all that, right? It's computers, it's cell phones, it's smart TVs, it's all electronic devices, right? That are tied to the network. Yes, Ms.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I think in our IT training with Butte-Silver, we learned terms like the Internet of Things.
Yep.
So maybe there's a term that we can pull that pulls all those things together, because data is created by every smart device that you have, your refrigerator, your microwave, not just your cell phone, your tablet, your computer. So maybe there's a term we can come up with that captures all of those. I can research that if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay.
I'd appreciate that. If you look at the Industrial Internet of Things, IIoT. So data can include things like or such as. I think we need to have those kind of words in there, right? Because we're not going to get all inclusive, but it's text, emails, documents, numbers, financial records, utility data, images, video, audio, software, and apps, right? Examples of everyday data: medical records, lab results, online banking, credit card transactions, photos stored on phones. It's actually photos stored on the cloud. Whatever the cloud is, right? The cloud's not a real cloud, the cloud's a data center. Or they could be stored in both places. So it could just be photos, right? Photos and videos. School records, emergency response systems. I mean, the list probably can go on and on and on. So I don't know if we need to belabor that or if it makes the point of, these are examples of everyday data. We don't have to list them all. Questions, comments? Mr. Babb.
Mr. Chair, I wonder if it would be, if we could maybe just take 5 minutes to make sure that we get the slides up so that the public can see what we're talking about.
I'll fire a couple questions your way, Johnny and Tammy. You gave me an email on information from tech. We could probably take your email and put it into a slide, if you recall the email you sent.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay. Tammy, did you have a slide from last week?
I did, and I sent it.
She has it, okay.
So she has it, and I think she put it in here, and yeah.
We'll just make sure that the schools are represented in the final. Appreciate both, what you both put together for me.
Sure.
Is it in there? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Seems like somebody was on a boondoggle last week. Have you guys had a chance to look through the slides? Any questions, comments ahead of time while we wait?
Brian? Hi.
Yes.
Sorry, not unsurprisingly, I have a question.
That's okay.
So, because jobs have been such a back and forth issue, I'm looking at the job slide, and I do see there's more of a breakout in this slide than in some of the others, which I'm happy to see, because I think that has caused part of the the confusion of when you say 200 jobs, is it like at the end of build out? Is it after the first phase? So I'm glad to see that there's a more of a breakout of delineating what are considered permanent SABE jobs and what are considered permanent on-site support. And that also that it's about 200 megawatt campus for the 200 jobs is what I'm seeing. So it's not the first phase of 50 megawatts. So, but because the first phase, 50 megawatts, is, I think, what's referred to often as the project that is coming first. I'm wondering if that project, if that jobs breakdown could be also offered, because we're not sure that the other phases would all get built out, but if they were to exercise that land option, for sure they'd work on the 50 megawatt phase. And so I'm wondering if that part could be a little clearer. But I'm very happy to see the other breakout is very helpful. I got to talk to somebody who is a project manager at a co-location data center, and he actually project manages for several smaller, and he works remotely. So I just wanted to point that out, that is a data center job, but he is not in the community that he is serving. So I just want that to be something that is understood, that is a model for other data centers. It is not a SABE data center that he works for, but it is a way that some data centers do business, and we need to be aware of that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Sarah, I will say, when I did talk to Sean at the Quincy Data Center, I think the reason why it's so difficult to define the jobs is because he did say it's very dependent on the clients who are in the data center. So depending on the particular client, that's going to result in a specific number of jobs. And so they're not trying to be shady about the number of jobs or misleading in any way. They just don't know until the clients are there. So if that's helpful to the community or to anyone, just to know that it's just very undefined until the clients are in there.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I talked to Maria this morning at SABE because I was kind of asking her about this job breakdown. Trying to understand, I've got a ton of plant experience, right? So control rooms and maintenance and operations, et cetera. Just for what she has for their sites, they have a site in the, what she called the Columbia site, 70 megawatts, has 140 employees. And then their Quincy site has 200 employees at 123 megawatts. So if you take that as the go-by, 70 megawatts at 140, if we say, well, what's 50 megawatts? It's going to be something, between 100 and 140, right? And I think you're right. I think it depends who the tenants are, who they are, what they are, how, what they require. I think there's a lot of agreements between SABE and their tenants that come in. I'm also going to assume there's a lot of non-disclosures and secrecies on who some of those tenants are. And it is what it is. I don't think there's, if it's military or Netflix or medical, right? But I think you're right. And so I talked to her, and I've talked to somebody else about who had been in some data centers about, they have reception, they have receiving in case they buy parts and pieces or shipping in and out. They have a control room. They actually call it a SOC center. Perfect. Maintenance activity, of course, and they're 24/7. They have people on site 24/7. Now, whether they actually have their own security or contract out security, I got a feeling I think she told me that usually typically contract that out. But so yeah, and the build out as it goes will be change headcount as it grows. And probably the same with construction as well, depending on where they are with construction. Yes, sir, Mr. McLean.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And, Sarah brings up a great point. I think it's important to think about this in kind of a phased approach to understand the jobs. It makes me wonder, are some of the other estimates that we've talked about, like the water usage and so forth, are those estimates for the whole project, or are those estimates for the first phase, or some combination of that first phase?
Mr. Chair, Chancellor McLean, the power consumption is for the full build-out phase, the numbers I've done, and as is the water consumption for a 200 megawatt facility.
Great. That makes sense. And it's good to know the full impact of the full project for water and power. I guess if we're going to break out the jobs impact into stages, we should probably break out the water and the power impact by stages as well, just to keep our data consistent one way or the other. So either the full project across the board, or phased project across the board, so that our data are consistent.
What do you guys think? Because if the full numbers are good, and we're going to be estimating those phase numbers, I mean, we can divide by 4 or divide by, how many phases are there? 4. If we go 50 at a time, that's to 200. Yes, Ms. Burns.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we go the full build out and talk about that. I mean, it's easier for us to talk about what it could be at full build out for consumption of resources, and for the jobs. And it also can help us with the tax question, I think. I'm looking at my tax friend over here, Mr. Durkin. But when we try to guess on the property tax kind of calculation based on what would be there in the first phase and how much would be evaluated on January 1st, and we're making lots of assumptions when we try to figure that out for the tax impact. But if we look at it as an entire project and say, at full build out, this would be what the tax implication would be. So I think we should go with full build out all the way, and then have those maybe footnotes, that it would be phased over time.
Ramped up.
And it would be ramped up, so we understand. But that's just what my thought. I don't know what anyone else thinks.
Real quick before I let you go, but I like your comment that we put things all on similar terms. So if we're talking gallons per day versus gallons per month or gallons per year, I'd like to make sure we do have the terminology that all lines up. Ms. Bordoon, you got your hand up.
Okay, well, Chair Sullivan, and back to the idea from Ms. Burns, then Director Burns, if we're saying if our numbers are for the whole build out and we're staying consistent for that, then I think the timeline of that 10 years, I believe, is what should also be referenced. That, when Sabi starts building, that we're not getting 200 jobs when that is completed. That is, and because that has impacts on housing planning and tax planning and et cetera, so that we stay consistent in the promise of the economic development and what pressures that might bring to our communities. Thank you.
I think that works. Okay. Yep. Good call. Thank you. We had a slide up there. Do we still have a slide? Oh, I don't want people to see me talking. Can people see it? Do we have people online? A handful? Okay. So that slide is, that's where I am. I wasn't sure if that was one I've already read or not. So we'll just doing definitions, because throughout this process I got a lot of questions. People coming to me asking a lot of things, hitting the email, the website with a lot of questions. So we thought we'd hit some of these definitions. So what is a data center? And some of these I don't know if I want to sit here and read them verbatim, but sometimes I read them out loud. It triggers the keywords, and I want to hit some of those keywords in the event we we need to, right? So, because this one, a data center is a secure facility, and I think that's a key point. That there's a lot of security and a lot of, not just cybersecurity, but physical security is important for a data center. Houses servers, network equipment, store, process, and transmit digital information. The backbone infrastructure of the digital world. And we hit some of these areas where they support, and likely everybody in this room uses multiples of these different bullets that are listed. So, internet, cloud, financial, healthcare, emergency, communications, government, entertainment, travel, military, good old Google Maps, and any kind of cell phone use is what data centers support. So what's cloud? Cloud computing means data and applications that are stored on a remote server or a data center instead of on a single local computer or device. So the cloud is a network of data centers, email, online banking, photo storage. So we get kind of repetitive, but that's what data is, right? Next slide is not all data centers are the same. So this one is new to me. So we have, there we go. Enterprise is a type, so it has internal organizational use, small scale dedicated users. There's a co-location, a hyperscale, and an AI data center. And then you have cryptocurrency. So the data center being selected here is the AI data center line item. No?
Mr. Chairman, my understanding is that the data center that's proposed for Butte-Silver is a co-location data center.
Co-location? Okay.
Yes.
Like I said, I hadn't read the slide yet, so.
Mr. Chairman, do we want to maybe reference that or highlight it in a different color so that it's noted that that's the kind that will be here?
I would think a different color would be great.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, when I was making that slide, I was referencing all of the services that SABE currently has in their portfolio, but I can certainly specify it to be the co-location type that they're looking at for viewing. Go ahead, Bob.
Yes, thank you, Committee Member Kaplan. That's my understanding. I think we need to confirm that with SABE, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll reach out to Maria
You
and
got it.
confirm that.
You got the action? Thanks, Rick. Mr. Babb?
Mr. Chair, seeing that most of us, we've seen some of these slides, but this is kind of new information tonight. So I think what we're going to try and do is get this pared down so we have a really good presentation that'll go to the council. And just as a suggestion as we go through this, I think it would make sense that we talk about what was brought up at these meetings in regards to the power, the water, the taxes, environmental concerns. And a lot of the information that are in these slides, I think could almost be as appendices. But as we deliver this information, I think it's going to be on SABE to come back with their development plan to really lay out what are the, how is this data center going to fit into the connections park and answer those real detailed questions. So I'm just throwing that out there that I think it's our shot to deliver to the council and the community. The real meat is what we've talked about, and if there's anything else that's supporting materials, we can get that to it, because I think it's going to be a pretty long night. If it's any indication of the last meeting, I think there'll be a lot of questions, and I just want to throw that out there, that we don't get too into definitions and stuff that
And
we
a lot
could
of
just
background information that feeds
that's just
into this, right?
my opinion, and I'd like to hear what other folks have to say.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Babb. We've got a lot of great information here, but I look, there's 30-some slides.
Right.
And I might suggest that there's really 5 or 6 key items that we need to focus on, each of which we could have one slide for. So what I'd like to get to is a slide on water, power, environment, jobs, taxes, there's 5, and maybe somebody else has a suggestion. So I'm not, keep these slides, but maybe what we ought to do is find those 5 key ones that we need to hone in on, and then it becomes a very short presentation.
Short. How much
But I'm
time
open to
is
ideas.
allowed? How much time's allowed? Is there a set time?
Chair, there's no set time on presentations, so it's really, the plan is, generally, kind of recommends keep it at no more than 20 to 30 minutes to be able to keep engaged, keep the meeting and stuff, and that allows for council members to ask questions about the presentation. That generally is.
So we can have these an appendices or as a handout for these folks, so they can have it ahead of time. They can, and it gives all the background information, all the definitions, what it's all about. We'll focus. Okay, I like that. Okay, I actually like that a lot, right? To be able to, just because over time we've had so many questions about, what is a data center and what are they doing out there and what's the noise, right? Thinking it's, compared to Bitcoin. So we could just highlight which ones are going to be background slides and which ones we're going to present and focus on the ones we present?
Mr. Chair, if we had this available at least on the website for the public so they could see all of the slides with the rest of the repository of all of our other information, maybe we could have that there in case, there are questions. That might answer some of their questions prior to coming to the meeting.
And then pull out, make another
Yes.
file for the slides that we're going to present that come out of the main presentation file.
Just a suggestion.
It's a good suggestion. Mr. Gallagher, yes, sir.
I would suggest that we potentially look at tonight and say, do we need that slide or do we not? So we need that to the public prior to still not
Right. So we had slides and we talked about prior with Montana Tech and Highland College, if those are slides we want to present or have as background information. The information we got from Ms. Sullivan and Ms. Serini last week on BLDC and Chamber, we can have those as backup slides, background addendum, all these definition slides. And so we'll get into the meat of the matter. I think TED slides. I think the TED slides. What do you think? They'd be background information that Todd worked on. Okay. So really, we're going to hit the meat of the matter of those, the big four.
The nod of my head was yes. Sorry, I realized we're not on video.
Oh, you're nodding your head. Yes. Okay. Yes, Paul.
Mr. Chair, I think it is important, though, that there is a slide that shows where the data center is located so that everybody can see where it sits on that property.
Because we have a map for that.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think that's slide number 13 currently. Is that what you're referring to?
So the verbiage, if this is a slide we want to keep. Or present, I guess is a better word for the council. So they're currently under a purchase sales agreement with Butte-Silver, 606 acres in the TED. Includes inspection period, which allows SABE to conduct due diligence, evaluate feasibility, and decide whether to proceed. That slide looks good. Yes, Ms. Burdoon.
Chair Sullivan, may I suggest that we put in the end date for that new 6 months on the land sale option on that slide?
Do you have that date we can add later? Do you have it? Is it
I'll get
that-
that added in, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
Thanks. Due diligence slide. There's a slide there that's blank that maybe add photos. We don't have anything for it. Due diligence slide can be addendum. Um, we want to keep moving forward. So, slide 15, we said 15 would be an addendum. 16? So you can go ahead and show 15. Then 16 talks about the TED, so it could be addendum. Okay. We could talk about this while we're showing the map, is what you're saying. Yep. So it's an addendum. Slide 17, addendum. Those are talking points on the map. Okay, yeah, we'll do. Sorry about that. Did you guys, 17, same thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Slide 18.
We need to keep slide 18 and
We need-
maybe add a few things to it, or add another slide.
I concur, taxes is a major item.
Yeah, I agree.
I might suggest adding a slide that just kind of shows, based on that full build out, what those property taxes might calculate out to. I can put that together.
Do you have it? Yeah, can you do that? Questions on this slide, comments on 18 with taxes? I got a tax education today from Kayla, so. Anybody? You like it the way it is? You'll get a slide 19 to, or I'll just say you'll get a new slide to Mackenzie. Slide 19? Right, no, sorry, go back. Sorry. Go back. Yeah, back 19, that one. So, hang on a sec. I'll get my thoughts. So if I look at the outline where you are, so we'd hit the park first, taxes second. Now we're at power. Sound good? So for the power slides, you like this one? This is a good one.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I recommend we keep slide 19.
And you think one slide for power works for you guys?
Yes, I might have another, but this tells pretty much the whole picture.
And we'll have talking points behind it. Right.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and maybe Mr. Morris, would it make sense, and maybe it's just discussion points as we go through, but to describe what a PSC docket that would evaluate maybe a large load tariff, or what that looks like, who the interveners are, what information is evaluated, just so that we kind of reiterate that it's much more than we'd be looking at here at a Butte-Silver boat level?
Yes, I believe we can. Maybe Mr. Babb could weigh in on that,
And I
but
could-
we
I
could
could
provide
check.
another slide on there is a lot of rigor at the PSC. It's like legal proceeding and very involved. Go ahead, Paul.
And, Mr. Chair, Mr. Durkin, I think it would be difficult to come up with the what-ifs. We have the large load tariff statement, and it's a regulatory process that is, and Butte-Silver has weighed in on that. And so I don't know how we describe that in a way that would be understandable.
I guess I'm almost thinking just saying this process, the evaluation of the electricity and energy usage process moves forth towards the Public Service Commission and various interveners, including the Montana Environmental Information Center, the Montana Consumer Council, Northwestern Energy, SABE, large customer group, all sorts of different parties will have an interest in that proceeding.
Right, and we really wouldn't understand that until we would have a large load customer that would go to the Public Service Commission with us to propose that large load tariff.
Okay.
And who would, anybody could intervene.
Mr. Chair, I can put a slide. What I'll recommend is I'm going to split this slide into two. I'll take the Northwestern Energy large load tariff off. I'll make a second slide, and I'll put some of that definition there that you're asking about, Mr. Durkin, and so to highlight it. And we're not going to know for sure, but the same players pretty much show up every time, so I can make a pretty good estimate on who would be there. And there's going to be a lot of visibility on this. I mean, it's not going to get swept under the rug by any means. It's a state law that's listed there, and the large load customer and the utility are required to go in front of the PSC if this project moves forward in through the rate base. So I think it's important to bring that up, because that is people have asked a lot about, are there guardrails on this? And absolutely there are. Montana is unique in that we have a law on the books that protects the ratepayers.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if we need to, but I do think we should include the total megawatts, and maybe Mr. Morris can explain that a little bit better. But I have it on the job slide, but I think it would be better coming from Mr. Morris to just sort of say, like, the first phase is the 50, if that makes sense, or I don't know, however we want to do. I'll let Bob figure out the
Mr.
best.
Chair and Ms. Lappin, yes, I can add that. It's in some of my backup documents, but it's such an important item, I'll add it to this slide.
Thank you. Anything else on power for this conversation? Good. Thanks. Next topic would be water. So slide 20. Yeah, you're on it.
Mr.
Do
Chair?
you want this slide? Go ahead, Ms. Burke.
I think this is a really good slide for explanation purposes, but maybe we need to add a title just for clarity at the top.
Oh. Yeah, it's off to the side over the verbiage, but it doesn't stand out as a title.
Right, so the previous one said, says the Montana
Right.
Connections Data Center electricity use, maybe have a similar box with water use.
Now you're getting into format, right? So, do we have headers on every slide and have them all consistent? Be a good idea. Good comment.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. As far as this slide indicates the Silver Lake system as it comes out of the two lakes actually up above for Twin and Storm Lakes feeding into the creek bed. And then as it hits the dam, where the arrow is the dam. Is that correct? Lighting the
Mr. Chairman, yeah, that's the location of Myers Diversion where we take water off of Warm Springs Creek and put it into the pipeline.
Right. That's Myers Dam, correct? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So there's at that where the arrow is where it splits, then the pipeline feeds into the TED Park area as well as to MR. And then
That's correct.
And then the other small users that are along the way we talked about with regards to cemetery.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a busy slide, but I tried to combine about 4 slides into one there, so I
Yeah.
can simplify it if the committee thinks that we need to.
We'll see, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Mr. Keenan, I've also duplicated some of this information on slide 22. So if we could go to slide 22. So I think Mr. Keenan and I can get our compare notes. So the upper right-hand portion of that slide is a chart that shows a very simplified version of what Mr. Keenan's map shows, that shows the industrial and potable water. So what we can do is, this is duplicate information, but on this slide I do include the design of the data center cooling system and the estimated annual use that's not present on Mr. Keenan's slide, and those were pretty important discussion points. So I think what Mr. Keenan and I need to do is put our heads together and merge this into maybe, I think there's 3 or 4 slides on water to get it down to maybe 2, something like that.
As long as it's visible for, because some of this.
Yeah, and
some of
these
this
are too
text is-
busy.
Some of the
so-
text on that previous one is pretty small.
Yeah, so, agreed. We need to simplify it so it's easy to read.
I mean, I like the map because people know, Silver Lake, Anaconda to Butte, but I like the process flow
So
diagram.
what I
you have
would
there.
suggest then, Mr. Chair, is that we just take Mr. Keenan's slide, put a title on it, and then I can eliminate that duplication on this slide here. Then we have it one spot.
Mr. Chairman, I do think it's really important for us to include information or a slide like that in the little box there that says Butte's water systems are independent. I think that was a big question, and it still kind of is. I know we described Silver Lake, how it works, it's the industrial water source, but I think we really need to clarify and make sure we put it front and center that they are 2 independent systems. And so I would say we keep that slide as a separate slide, and I think it's worthy. That's my opinion.
On this slide, Bob, Mr. Morris, the second line item talks about 16 million gallons per year, and then you go down, and then you get into 2.5 million gallons per day. And I just didn't know if we want to put any kind of parentheses to match up those usages to show that if it makes sense or not to show what the versus day versus year ends up being.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if you could go back to the previous slide, number 21. Okay, so this is Mr. Keenan's chart, and the far right bar on the far right is the water usage in 2025, which is about an average of 2.5 million gallons per day. So that's where I started. That's the present average usage of the system. And then what I did is I calculated the water used by the data center and the 16 million gallons per year, which gets you to 2.54 million gallons per day. So if we could go to the next slide. Okay, and so in the middle left of that table on the left, it says average annual usage with the data center goes from 2.5 to 2.54 million gallons. And then there was a question about what's this look like in the summer, and so I had to do some work on that. If you could go to the next slide, please. This is on the left side of this slide, that's the average temperature in Butte, Montana throughout the year. It gets above 75 degrees. That's the red bullseye in the left chart there for about 30 to 60 days in the summer for about 4 hours. So that's when it's going to use the 16 million gallons in that red bullseye. And if you do the math on that, then it shows the average summer consumption in the peak heat is about somewhere on the order of 300,000 gallons per day. So that was a question from Commissioner O'Leary. So what I'd suggest is I think between Mr. Keenan and I, we can get this down to probably 3 or 4 slides that are very readable, that show the difference between the potable and Silver Lake, and then it shows the annual consumption before the data center and after, and the peak usage. I think those are the key points to bring forward.
These slides are all utility water, not potable, correct?
Mr. Chair, correct. There is the one map in the previous slide shows both the potable and that map on the upper right, that shows both the potable and the industrial system and their average usage or consumption last year. So that's, there's a little bit of potable water, but all of the water usage at the data center that I've shown is cooling water, which is industrial.
Correct. Right, thank you.
Mr. Chair. I think it would be helpful as we're trying to describe these numbers to the layperson, to have a correlative. And so if we're saying, okay, it could be up to 267,000 gallons per day during that peak window, and then basically no water usage the rest of the year. Okay, I think everybody understands what no water usage means, but it's difficult for me to visualize what is 267,000 gallons per day. What is that correlative to? And so having some other kind of, just an example, this would be similar to this usage, this type of usage for, how many days did you say, Bob? 30 to 60 days, and then the other 300 days of the year, basically zero water usage. That would be helpful for me, So I assume it would be helpful for other lay people.
Good.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Chancellor McLean, yes, it is, and if you look at the average daily, it's about 45,000 gallons, which is a mid-sized hotel, but there's not going to be an average day. It's going to be either a whole bunch in the summer or none. So I will work on a real-world example that we can wrap our heads around.
And I think this is an important enough topic that if we do more slides, just have more clear, it's okay, right? I don't think we need to squeeze it all into a few slides. I think these comparisons or equivalents are becoming very handy. The key, obviously, is that this utility water is separate from any kind of city water. It's made for industry. It's in use with MR and REC and a few others. And it's in the park. There'll be tie-ins that SABE would have to do, that SABE would pay for, right? That SABE pays for the installation as well as the use, the gallons per minute. And those are key points that I think really needs to be, whether it's on the slide or part of our talking points, needs to be real clear.
And Mr. Chair, I would like to add that this is looking at the typical design, and we're going to learn a lot more when we get the detailed design from SABE, and they will for certain have on-site storage of, I don't know how much, because they can't afford to have, say the industrial water system goes down, they're going to have some on-site storage. So I think what we need to do is look at these numbers, and my learning is that the usage is well within the capacity of the industrial water system. It's going to be peaky in the summer, and they're going to have to design they'll have some on-site storage, and then it's up to Butte-Silver to decide how they want to structure the water use agreement, to facilitate their usage.
That's a good point. They fill their storage up in advance. It alleviates the pain of usage. And their usage is way, way, way below what the capacity is of the system. Any more questions on water? As far as water in, we can talk. The next slide would be water out. And we had the Metro gentleman showed up. Mr. Gallagher, go ahead and talk loud, buddy.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chief Executive, Bob and I have been talking about that a lot, because in his initial presentation, he had a capacity of 25 million gallons a day. And I was a little uncomfortable with just implying that we can produce 25 million gallons a day from the Silver Lake water system 365 days a year. So it's just so many different variables that come into it depending on where you're standing on the pipe. The bigger, the pipe closer to Myers Diversion is bigger, and that was built to provide 60 million gallons a day to the smelter, and then the pipe gets smaller. And then
Did you
there's
say
water rights
6?
issues and reliable yields. So trying to come up with a number that everybody's comfortable with. I think Bob and I settled on saying that it has a 25 million gallon per day maximum capacity, and I think he has that on one of his slides, and I think I'm comfortable with that as well.
Go ahead, Mr. Morris.
Mr. Chair and Mr. Keenan, if you could please display slide number 21. This might help us get our brains calibrated on this. It's the bar chart with all the daily average water consumption. Slide number 21, I believe.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
it. Okay, so the bar on the right is 2025. We average 2.5 million gallons per day. Okay, and then we know that on average, the data center is going to be 0.04 million gallons per day, but we know there's not an average. But in the summer, we just looked, it could be 300 or 400,000 gallons a day. So that 2.5 for 2 months of the year might go up to 2.8. So just a little bit. But now go back to the big taller bars in the middle chart. That's 2013 and 2014. And we pulled 8.5 million gallons a day. And so we're not getting anywhere near that. And the comment at the top says, no withdrawals from storage required. So, so there's still plenty of capacity in the system. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Keenan.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Morris, no, I agree. I think that our capacity in the system is well above that 8 million gallons per day that we were able to produce just from our direct flow rights on Warm Springs Creek without using any of our storage. For example, last year we met all of our users' needs, and we also, outside of our water service agreements, discharged 940 million gallons into the creek for fish under contract with the state of Montana through the NRDP. So that gives you a little bit of sense of that extra capacity that we have. We don't traditionally even use or normally use our storage, but last year we did, and we provided about 58 years worth of data center use to the creek for fish habitat last year. And another point that I'd like
Mr.
to
King,
make-
was that just during a certain period of time, like when
that
low
was
water?
over 47 days between July 10th and 47 days after that, whatever the date was. But we discharged from Silver Lake last year, and we've done that a few times in the almost 16 years that I've been around. We did it in 2017, 2019, 2021, and 2025. But those are not agreements that we have in place, so we have to do that every year. We can kind of do that as we're approached if we have the water. But just to provide some context on capacity, that was all water that we discharged over and above what we're required to provide for our industrial users. And earlier today, just to make another point or a correlation for Mr. McLean, I asked our meter reader to provide me all of the Copper Mountain reads for the past 5 years. I added them up right before the meeting and averaged them. That's about 16,716,000 gallons a year that we provide to the Copper Mountain Sports Complex from Silver Lake, but that's coming off the Silver Lake water system with Metro's effluent reuse project. So the change is going to be negligible with the data center over what we're currently providing from the Silver Lake water system once that Metro effluent reuse project comes online, and we'll be irrigating Copper Mountain with that water rather than Silver Lake water. So.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Keenan, I have a question for Mr. Keenan. So you said about 16 million gallons a year, which is about what the data center will use, and this is for the Copper Mountain complex. So is that a good enough example for Chancellor McLean that that's about what we're watering a sports complex?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mr. Morris, that's a great example, and actually understanding now that because of this, is it called an effluent reuse project?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McLean, that's correct. I don't know everything about the Metro operations, but I know that's one of their projects, and the chief executive could probably tell you more about it than I could, but I think it's scheduled to be online later this year.
So what I'm understanding as again, I'm going to play the part of a layperson. What I'm understanding is we are reducing the amount of water coming out of Silver Lake because of this effluent reuse project by about the same amount as we would add with a new data center. So they would cancel each other out, which would basically mean there's no change to the Silver Lake water system. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McLean, that's correct. I think maybe the chief executive has something to add as well.
His mic's not, it's not working. Here you go.
Microphones aren't working. Sorry. Here. That's absolutely correct. So we've gone through a project where we have ran affluent lines to be able to use the affluent for watering parks. It'll also come online for Stodden Park as well. So it'll be a reduction. At Stodden Park, we use well water there, so it's that won't affect it at Stodden. But up at Copper Mountain, we do run the water from Silver Lake up to the ponds up there, and then we irrigate out of the pond. And so with the new affluent line that we put into there, we will be using 16 million gallons of affluent a year, hence putting 16 million gallons back into the Silver Lake system. But it will have redundancy. If we ever had to use Silver Lake again, we'd be able to still be able to connect into Copper Mountain to fill those ponds as well. So we have redundancy there, but the intent will be to bring affluent into the park.
Good discussion. I guess we could talk later if we need to have any of this in the slides or as a background information, or do we just kind of stick to this Silver Lake water system? I think it gets complicated if we start talking, this system's coming on, it's pretty minimal impact of what you use for sprinkling. And but it's a good impact, it's positive, which is really cool. Thank you. Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Morse.
Mr. Chair, we don't need to explain that system, but I am going to use that the 16 million gallons a year is what it takes to water the fields, which is what the data center, but it's a great example.
Yeah, good. Yes, Jim.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have
To hit is your not working?
All right, there.
you go.
Okay, there we go. I inquired to Jim Keenan to have the water system give another analysis, which is a great comparison. If you'd provide that with us again today on the what a hotel would use on a daily basis.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Cambridge, at one of the previous meetings, Mr. McLean asked for a correlation between what 44,000 gallons a day would look like. And thank you, Karen. And so I asked ChatGPT to give me an example of a user that would use about 44,000 gallons a day. And it said a good estimate or a good approximation would be a hotel with 100 rooms, laundry service, and a restaurant would use about 44,000 gallons a day. So.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Lappin.
Mr. Chair, and just to clarify, the 16 million gallons a day is at full build out. Is that correct? Okay, just wanted to make sure that's full build out. So first few years, we're probably going to be seeing less than that. Like that chart's not going to shoot up to 16 million. And it's not million gallons a day. I meant million gallons a year. I apologize. Sorry. 16 million gallons a year at full build out.
Kind of beat that to death, but that's why we're here. Any other comments, questions? So I think what we'll do is Bob, if you can kind of get with Mr. Keenan and kind of hammer through these slides. It's fine if there are more slides, if it's more clear. I like this slide. It shows that we've, had an impact back in 13, 14, 15, where they had to use more water. Then it came, but they got their system back in line and got back down to normal operations. Looks to be somewhere in that 3 million number. And not that we have to add it, but it could be a talking point, but the level of Silver Lake and the level of Georgetown, has never been impacted for recreational purposes based on industrial water use. All right, can I move on to Metro? This slide here. So we had the Metro guys here last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And explained, basically the Metro system that's out there, they could tie into it. And it's going to be used for kitchens and restrooms type activity. There's no industrial use water, no industrial water is going to go down the Metro sewer line. And to tie into the line for Metro, they need to have a permit with Butte-Silver, and they'll pay some type of usage fee year in and year out, is my assumption. Fair? Might have to be in there. Any comments on that slide? Do we need it to be displayed? Versus an addendum? Is it enough water comment that it needs to be shown?
I think it should be shown.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, would we add that maybe under environmental and just kind of hit Metro and what other ones might fall in that category? I think it would make sense to have an environmental,
Have
we
it
got
down later?
power, water, jobs and taxes go together.
Okay.
Environmental, hit the Metro, hit the
Noise, traffic, housing.
all that stuff.
Okay.
I think that would flow well.
Okay. That's a good comment. Jobs would be the next topic. Oh, yes, Ms. Bordoon.
Quick question. Chair Sullivan, I was asked at the last meeting, should we have anything more on wastewater? And one thing, because I know that Bob Morris will present on the cooling system, but of that, I guess the shipping away of the coolant a couple times a year or once a year, whatever is decided, isn't addressed in that presentation, I believe, and nor do we have a slide stating that there would be waste taken from, it is liquid waste, taken by a third-party company, perhaps. I could make a slide on that. And because it may become a question. And the other thing was, since it is an evaporative cooling, but it's pretty massive at the time that it happens. Like it's many thousands of gallons of evaporative water going up. I guess there's a little bit of a question that I've heard of, does that all truly evaporate or does it condensate down? And how is that dealt with? Because we're saying there's no discharge, no surface discharge, but in practicality, is that physically possible with that much water vapor in an area? And does it stay in the air? Does it come down on the site? I guess we don't know the answers to that question. SABE would have to answer to it. So on the same discharge slide, I could say that SABE has to answer these questions for us, if that's fair for those who have talked to SABE, if that hasn't been answered directly.
No, I think that's fair. I know Bob's been talking to SABE. We can add that to the discharge under the environmental side of slide. And if it's early yet in the design, it'll have to come out as to what they are, because they don't have any intentions of discharging above ground. Right. Yes, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, Chair Sullivan and Ms. Borden, yes, I agree. That's a great point to put in there. We need clarification from SABE.
No, there's no public comment at this time. So the next topic looking at the outline would be jobs. We good to go? Hang on a sec, Mr. Moore, hang on a second, hang on. Ms. Burke?
I do have a question about the hourly starting wages and where, this is the first I've seen of this, and I didn't speak with the SABE representative about the actual wage. If these are Washington wages, are they going to be consistent in Montana? Being a previous Boeing employee, those Boeing employees out in Washington make a little more than we did in Helena, so I'm just curious.
It costs a little more to live out there too,
A
right?
little bit, yep.
Yeah, I'll let Kayla, if you
Thank
could,
you.
Ms. Lappin.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Ms. Burke. These figures came from a Montana Connections board meeting where representatives from SABE answered questions about what the starting wages would be, and this was what they reported that they would be. I'm noting on this slide that I need to double check that 60 megawatt facility number. It might be higher. I need to double check that number, so I'll confirm that number with SABE.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have something, Mr. Morse?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will get an answer to the blow-down discharge.
Oh, right, correct. Thank you. Hold on a sec. This jobs, yeah, like I say, a lot of people haven't seen it yet. But we're looking at 200 jobs, some sort of wage, construction jobs. Any other comments on this slide? And is it a keeper? I think it is. We need to have a jobs keeper. Okay, next slide, please. This is another one on jobs, so kind of based on a little bit of a breakout with the 40 to 60 permanent jobs and then the on-site sport ecosystem 120 to 160. If you add those up, you're somewhere between 160 to 220. Like I say, we've been saying 200 is what we've been told. Expect 200. And then the construction could be up to 600 is what we've been. And there will be if this truly is a 10-year build out, it's gonna it's gonna be hard to predict what's gonna be happening in year 4, year 6, year 8. Okay. Yeah, keeper, background information. What do you guys think on this slide? Do we need to have? Okay, we'll present. Comments, questions? Next slide, please. Oh, jump back one, sorry. I didn't realize you had one up there.
Mr. Chair?
That doesn't, oh. Yes, Ms. Burke.
I think it is important on the job slide to make sure to note that these are also lots of jobs in HVAC and electrical, and so whoever presents, just maybe make a note of that so that, you know, people are aware that this could definitely be a really nice impact on local businesses and the construction trades for HVAC, and those are the long-term. Those aren't short-term construction jobs. The HVAC and electrical and those types of things are long-term jobs that could be very meaningful for contractors, local contractors.
Because when I talked to Maria at SABE this morning, you know, control room jobs, admin jobs, the maintenance jobs of being HVAC, right? IE tech is what I was calling them based on, you know, they may have a different term. So we could probably get a list of, you know, make that list up. The headcount side of it is to be determined. Ms. Lappin, you'll kind of add that in the jobs, figure out.
Yeah.
Okay. Next slide. That's different than mine. So it's taken out already? Okay. So we hit the park, taxes, power, water, jobs. Those are kind of the big topics, right? Environmental impact. We had presentations, and we've actually asked SABE to get some data, get a meter and read the decimals, the dBs, at the fence line, so we can actually have data. I know people visited and said it was not noisy anywhere outside the building. Inside the building is going to be noisier, and that is going to require the proper PPE. But from environmental impact, so we'll add those. I'm hoping she'd get me some data on what the decimal measurements are. Oh, you want to pull that? You want to pull that mic down?
As far as sound goes too, we might not want to ignore any potential for backup generators or what that would look like, just to be able to touch on that.
Agree.
As a,
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry, Chair Sullivan, and Mr. Durcom, as a follow-up on that, maybe SABE could provide what their testing schedule is for Quincy, because I know that, if they're 60 megawatts, they would be close to that phase one. It might be nice for neighbors to know how many generators, diesel generators, and how often those would be tested, because that's a huge noise and emissions consideration for them.
Just to that, I think SABE could answer that, but I know that they said that they are required to do a 30-minute test of it monthly on those generators. So I think we could ask for what that noise is at the time that they test those generators as well, and know that it is that, but we probably need to verify that with SABE.
Thank you. Could be similar to what REC does as well, because they have two big, huge CAT generators that they run on tests on a regular basis. Lighting would be another topic. We don't have it in here yet, but we talked about it last week. So, we can request down lighting as much as possible. Again, their lighting will be less than FedEx, for example, because they don't have the trucks driving day in and day out, nighttime. But they do have pretty stringent security requirements, and so they will have some lighting. Now whether they put lighting around the fence line to attract, that kind of thing, we could talk to them, but there will be lighting, and we could request down lights and try to keep that down as much as possible.
Yeah, I was just going to say, our current businesses that locate in the industrial park now, they are required to have down lighting, and they do have some hoods on their lights. And we do work with them on that as
Okay.
they work through the permitting process. And those are part of what they provide to us, those specs. So it would be the same.
Thank you. Questions, comments, lighting? So we'll have noise, lighting. We'll have the generators for noise as well as discharge. Then we'll add the Metro under environmental. Any other environmental topic? Because there's a big community topic will be next, will be housing, traffic. Unless you want traffic as environmental. Do you care? For as long as we hit it? So again, it might depend on slide, room and space. So the next slide would be community impacts, which would be the information you presented last week on housing. And we can put in the information that was presented on traffic.
Correct. Let's do that.
Anything new and exciting on housing and traffic?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so. Well, and those are keeper slides for presenting. So slide 30. Do you have something to share?
Sorry, we were actually thinking ahead that you could probably just get rid of this since it was noted in the other slide.
You think, say it again, please, on 30?
We could probably just delete that slide because it's noted in the other slide, the previous job slide.
Oh,
So it was, all of those jobs were referenced in slide number 26. So I think that number 30 is duplicative and we could just eliminate that.
oh, okay. Yeah, I'm with you. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with
Yeah,
you.
it could be supportive.
A supporting slide.
Yeah, and same with 31. I would think that we could just have that as supportive. Yeah.
So the next slide?
Yes. Mr. Chair, thank you.
You want to go to the next slide, please? So you think this is a supporting slide to talk about the schools? Okay. Even though I wanted to wear my digger hat and,
Please do.
okay. You know, I can't get over, because when I work for the other school west of here, east of here, I don't even know which direction it is. And I get in arguments daily with those guys, how much better the school is here than the school is there. I can do that. I can do that. Okay, next slide. So this one, yeah, we have, depending on how many questions, comments we've gotten via website and questions, comments that have been asked here at these meetings. You have a compilation of those. If some of the questions have already been addressed through the previous slides, we're not going to list redundant questions. If they have questions on power, questions on the big four, right? So we don't have them, just not quite prepared yet, but there's how many, do you have an idea roughly of how much we're looking at here?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have around 50 questions, well, with the stuff that came in over the weekend, maybe 65-ish questions that have been submitted. I've responded to about a quarter of those because some of them haven't been answered by the committee yet before, like as they were coming in. So I anticipate that we'll get all of those answered ahead of next week's meeting. But I do think it would, depending on what this body wants to do, I think it would be helpful as an addendum to the council to see what questions did come in, and I think we should attach those questions and then, how we responded to them, or the information on the committee. So I do have all the emails that I sent folks, and I could either attach those responses, or I could, what I sent you was that spreadsheet with all the answers that I went through and answered in there, and most of, I will say, the 80% of them are questions that I just directed folks to information on the website or the slides. I attached slideshow presentations that kind of highlighted, so it's not like Kayla was in there pretending to know everything. But I referenced all of that. So I don't know if we just want a record to show that that's what we did, or whatever this body thinks is appropriate.
Have you, excuse me, have you been answering the questions that are, and putting them on the website so they're visible?
I put some of them on the website, or Mr. Chair, I've put some of them on the website, and I do think it would be appropriate. Some of the questions we have omitted because they are inappropriate questions.
I get it.
Yeah, so we have, those ones will not be on the website. But I think a lot of them are the same question that are answered. So the way that I've broken it out on the website is in different categories. So if you go in the FAQs section of the website, you'll see there's water, power, all of that. And so I've been directing folks to those areas, and then linked in those areas on the website are the presentations that this body has given, if that makes sense.
So how do you want to present
So
those?
each page has an FAQ. It's laid out in an FAQ sort of section, so you can click it and then it'll open up with the question, if that makes sense.
Mr. Chair, I think it'd be advantageous maybe that we send the commissioners the questions that maybe have been asked, but I don't think that needs to be part of your presentation. The presentation is going to be, what this committee has done to answer the questions that have been presented to them, but to go through every question that maybe has been presented, I think you're going to end up in a full night presentation or something. But I think that we could have Ms. Lappin send the questions that have been sent so that they know that we're addressing the questions, that they've been referenced to the website or how they've been answered, or that, like I said, or as Ms. Lappin said, the inappropriate ones, I think you admit anyhow. That's.
And there'll be a handful of questions that, because of the stage of the design, we don't know the answer. I assume there's some of those.
That is correct,
Or
Mr.
they'll have
Chair.
to be referred to SAB and answered at some time prior to whatever that answer is.
That is correct.
Fair? So as far as slides to present then, on this topic, is it just refer to the addendum that has been submitted to the council of all the questions that we've seen? That sounds fair? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Fire away.
Chair Sullivan, I may have lost track a little bit, but did you say also, Kayla, that addendum of the same questions would be on the website? Or did I sort of lose track of how it's made public? Because the council gets the questions, but does the public get the questions? Is my question.
That's a good question.
Ms. Bordoon, Mr. Chair, I think we could do both. So what I've been doing is sort of the same questions. I've addressed them with like an FAQ on that individual page for that category. But I think what could be appropriate is, an Excel file of, it would be a table essentially of how we answered them and what came in. And we could definitely make that available to the commissioners and on the website.
When it comes to the questions asked, you've had questions asked via the website, questions asked probably directly to you, I know you, maybe you, probably not you two, right? Probably you. So I think it gets real complicated on how to gather all these questions that have come in, because I know Mr. Morris has answered a handful of questions very extensively. And then in those question responses have forwarded them to McKinsey for record. Now, whether they got, if they got to you or not, or if they went from McKinsey to the website, I don't know, right? So we've received a lot of questions. We've answered a lot of those emails and then submitted them to you guys for record. So we'll just have to try to make sure they're compiled.
Mr. Chair, if anybody has received a question that hasn't been, forwarded to me or something, I do encourage anyone on this body to sort of forward that to me. I will include it in the table.
It's getting dark in here. Mr. Babb, you have a question?
Mr. Chair, just so I'm clear on this, I think our website is the clearinghouse and is the place that we're directing the public to go to. I think the questions that have come through this whole process should be on the website. And I would see that our last slide should be that address.
Okay.
And so if I could just indulge the committee for a few minutes, is I think that the very first slide that is the Ad Hoc Data Center Impact Committee, I think that's where we should start off. And then I think the mission statement is important. And then I think we kick off with the map. And then we step through, the power, the water, the taxes and jobs should be together. And then we get into the slide with the environmental impacts. the community impacts, and then we have that last side that directs the, any of the questions that have come up.
There's that slide right there.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think we need to do is we need to have Mackenzie print up probably 100+ of these, that the folks that are in the audience would have the opportunity to follow along, as well as it presented on the screen for anybody that may have a difficult time trying to follow maps. And then it's also something that every council member has. Any of the members of the audience that leave, they have that. I think it would help. Is making sure that we get all the information out to people when we give that presentation that night. So that'd just be a suggestion that I would throw out for discussion.
Mr. McLean.
Mr. Chair, I totally concur with Mr. Babb's suggestion. I love that, and I like the idea of combining or co-locating the taxes and jobs slides, because I think those go together. I apologize, I think I missed the meeting where taxes were discussed. And I do have a comment on the taxes slide that I should have said a long time, when we were on slide 18. For power, water, and jobs, we've been very specific about our estimated numbers. But for taxes, unless I'm misunderstanding, it looks like we only talk about the 0.9%, but we're not estimating how much tax revenue we're going to bring in. And I think that is an important piece of information. But again, I missed that meeting, so maybe it's been covered.
Yes, we, Mr. Chairman, we did present that information, and speaking for Mr. Durkin, he did a deeper dive into it. I did present a high-level information. Mr. Durkin, worked through a more detailed scenario, and we did present that information. It's just not included in this slide deck at this point, and so we will include those slides.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Burns, thank you very much. And I think it's just for consistency, just to have, if we're going to this level of specificity with water, with power, with jobs, let's do the same level of specificity with taxes revenue.
It's a good point. Good call. Good point. Let me go back to you real quick. Did you maybe Mr. McLean as well, you want to change the order of, do you want to do power, water, and then taxes and jobs at the end of those four? Did you?
I think that would flow
Better.
well.
I
Yeah.
agree. Okay. You got that? Okay. I think so too. That last slide has the links, likely a keeper to put into the final of the slide deck, right? It's a lot of slides. I mean, it's a lot of it's a ton of information that you guys have gotten together and put together for this effort. Now, I guess we already said it, the slides because that Kayla Kelly and Steph put together will be addendum slides. What information, what have I forgotten to ask you guys? What question do I need to ask?
Right here.
What are we left? Who's looking?
When's our homework due?
Yeah, good question. So, and we may have to discuss this process-wise, right? But you need to have it to the council Friday? Is that what I heard? Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we've already scheduled the presentation on the council agenda, so it's already scheduled. So
Correct.
we don't have to have anything into the council in addition at this point. So we just have to be ready to present next Wednesday.
So
At
they
7:30.
don't need to have it ahead of time.
No, they do not.
So,
Chairman, I would ask that maybe we send this in preparation ahead of time, our slide deck, to the council so they can have a look at it. Not, it's just so that it's it's given to them, and then if it's on the, we have that available. But I know I would just recommend we have that to them at a time, and we can adjust it if we've made any changes up till the time that we did that.
Ms. Burke?
Since I'm new to the council and the council meetings, is this an in-person meeting, and are all of us going to attend to support this presentation?
Do you want me to answer? You want to answer? You don't have to. I would ask at a minimum that I have Mr. Morris with me to support on power. I hate to do it to you, Mr. Durkin. Then my tax man. I would probably have Miss Burns and Miss Lappin, if you can. And I know you have family, so if you can't make it, your family's older. Mr. Keenan, if you could. I think if you want, you'll be here. Yeah, and I'd like for you to be, will you be here, please? I don't know. You're here anyway? All right, what about you? Thanks. You plan to be here next Wednesday? Yeah, okay. So, we will have slides. I'd like everybody to get slide information to you, to Kayla. Today is Tuesday. So, give me a date.
Mr. Chair, if I could request it by Thursday, that would give Mackenzie and I time to hopefully get it out to everybody by Friday, and that any major changes we'd have Monday to update them with, Tuesday being the date where it hopefully is in a polished sort of state.
So we'll have two files. We'll have the big blown PowerPoint slide. We'll have one that we're going to present that's pared down. We'll have that big one will be an addendum. Basically, it'll be background information. We have your 2-page power document that you had prepared, which ought to be an addendum. Any other information, do you think, on, you put together a ton of slides, a ton of pictures. Do we need to have that as an addendum? It doesn't hurt. Would you fix your mic?
Mr. Chair, I would say that we need to have everything finalized because per the request of Mr. Babb to have these printed and ready to go. It's not, we probably won't do it in-house. We'll probably send it out if we're going to make that many copies. So we probably need to get it to the printer so we, no less, all corrections done by, like we said, get it to them by Thursday, Friday. We kind of look at it. If there's any corrections, we can make those corrections over that time. But Monday, Tuesday. Oh yeah, Tuesday we'd need to have them. We would take it to the printers to get printed. I would say so. We need to have any corrections by Tuesday morning.
Did you guys all get that? Capiche?
Tuesday morning is final.
Tuesday morning it goes off to be printed. So if we can get everything we can by Thursday, that'd be helpful. Good. So next Tuesday evening, do we meet? Or are we pretty much, if it's printed on Tuesday morning, you can give me a day off. Is it a holiday for me, Mackenzie? What do you guys think? You're okay? I mean, there's probably no reason to meet next Tuesday.
I move to cancel next Tuesday's meeting.
Second.
Do I have a second to that? Do I have a second to that one? Yeah. All in favor? What about, what have we got going on here? It's 5:40. So, public comment. Any other questions, comments on what we've got going on by the team? Yes. Yep. Maybe it's in black and white.
Chair Sullivan, sorry. When we do meet again, I would love to have Sabi by that time address a comment that John Saby made in a Montana Connections TED Board meeting in November, that during that time, it was asked of him if there would be an environmental impact statement, and he said that they should have their primary environmental study done on the property in a few weeks. He said that in November. So I imagine something like that is probably back for them, and if there could be some comment from Saby on their environmental impact statement progress.
Just for clarification, it is not an environmental impact statement. That's a federal term that's ordered when, certain funding sources are being used. They are doing a phase 1 environmental analysis, and they have hired Pioneer Technical to complete that. And so I'm not sure what state it's in, but we can definitely check. To your point is, yes, we could have a report back on that.
That's in progress? That
It could
study?
be finished.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but we can check.
Okay. What else? All right. Fire away. Come on up to the mic. Yeah, if it's on, there you go.
My name is Jay Cornish. I live at 954 Caledonia. In regards to that environmental impact slide, I know it's been discussed before, but I didn't see anything noted as to the disposition of any potential hazardous or solid waste, landfilling, recycling, etc. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
Hi, I'm Cindy Purdue-Dolan, 2810 Hannibal. I just wanted to ask if you could also include information to the public with regard to, with water, the closed-loop system versus the other systems and the technology advancements. I think the public could use that information about a closed loop and what that is and how that impacts how much water usage will be necessary. Thanks.
Thanks, Cindy.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Evan Barrett, 807 West Silver Street in Butte. First, let me compliment you on continuing to drive through this process. You've refined a lot of information. You've provided more details. It's been very helpful to observe the process proceed. It's never, ever done. It's never, ever complete. To everyone's satisfaction, but you've done a good job with that. I wonder if it is not easy to read what you've been putting up on here from back here. And sometimes I even have trouble hearing it. But, and so I think it's important that what is being put onto these slides is held in somewhere, understanding that it'll keep being refined. But if it's going to be refined to the very last minute, then folks are limited from seeing what is emerging. And I certainly would hope to be able to have the availability to scrutinize the slides as they go through the refinement process. We've got a whole week to see them come together. So I hope you can find some way where maybe they're posted on a site while they're being worked on, knowing that they will go through some changes. The last thing I want to mention is I must disagree with the statement that the smart thing to do when calculating jobs is to take the big number and then just say, well, there'll be little less than that. That we're going to go with 200 and some instead of what is a sequential thing. We have the company telling the Connections Board that they would expect probably this would take 10 years, maybe more, maybe a little less, but say it's going to be 10 years. And because it's on 3 separate parcels, it cannot be one project. It's going to have to be multiple projects because we'd have non-contiguous lots. And so there has been no planning for sequencing as far as I can see, and the passage of time. And I think it behooves SABE to be pushed, for the county to push on SABE to come up with a sequential development process. That's their business. This isn't going to be done overnight. It's going to be done sequentially. Excuse me.
I'm just don't have the timer, so you're at 3 minutes. Kevin.
So what does that mean?
Just, you're at 3 minutes, that's all I'm telling you.
Well, it behooves the county to push on SABE to produce something that's realistic, not just a 10-year thing and a gross job thing, and we don't know how many separate things they are. And I went through this process. Let me I gave this to the council last week, but not to you. So I would like to maybe submit these comments if to this ad hoc committee, and if you could copy them and distribute them to the committee, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. I'm going to put you on speed.
Janie Payne, 1900 Reynolds Avenue. I just have an observation. As a technical writing graduate of Montana Tech, as you're going through these slides, I think it would behoove you to have a technical writer or a technical writing professor on your committee, because they are trained for consistencies. They're trained to look for those examples that put things in layman's terms. So it may be too late, but in the future, that's what I would suggest you do. The second thought that I have is I have one question as to why the land agreement extension was presented to the Council of Commissioners before the ad hoc committee work was done. I would think that you would want to have the ad hoc committee presentation first, and then the council decide on whether they want to extend that land agreement. So, thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Tom Malloy, 2901 Harvard Avenue. Most of my comments, what we talked about today, might be addressed in the baseline environmental statement that's coming out yet. But on the one slide, I believe it's your slide number 22, the title on that said minimal water use and no discharge. No discharge means zero discharge. There's no runoff off the parking lots, off the buildings. That would be a zero discharge, no discharge facility. This is not proposed, so that'll probably be addressed in the baseline analysis. A couple of other questions on water storage. How much storage is on site? That could be significant. If they need 10 days of water storage, if for any reason they got to run on generators, for whatever reason, how much water are they planning on storing on site, and how is that going to be done? The other question on in waste disposal, and this again will come out in the analysis, there's hazardous waste and non-hazardous waste. How's it going to be stored? Where's it going to be shipped? These things are all foreseeable, and I expect they'll be quantified. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Malloy.
Robin Jordan, 1009 Placer Street. Just a positive comment to you all and for all the hard work, but just a comment on slides with 3 or 4 of the that were bigger slides in other presentations. I think for people to be able to see, you know, it's okay to show us 3 slides if we can read them. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Anybody else? All right. Take a motion to call this a day. Second?
Second?
All in favor? Thanks, you guys.